Okay, Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Abu Ayyub with Simply Seer Studios, and also a member of MAP, Muslim Apologetics Podcast. And today I'm here with my buddy Ijaz Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, Ijaz.
Walaikum assalam, brother Abu Ayyub. What's up, my man?
Yeah, long time no see, huh?
Been a very long time.
What's it been like? Half a day?
Couple hours, I think. Couple
Yeah.
hours, but that's too long. Too
Yeah.
long, you know.
Too
In that
long,
time,
man. Got to
so
give
in
your
that
salams. What is it? 3 days? You're not supposed to if you're upset with somebody.
3 days
Yeah,
minimum, maximum. I almost said minimum. My goodness.
yeah. Well, with you, sometimes I feel like it should
But
be a minimum, but
the thing is, I do have a reason to be upset with you, though. I probably should not have given you salams in the case that Grand Theft Auto Online. Where have you been the last few hours?
yeah, exactly, right. For the viewers that they don't know what's going on, me and Ijaz are just binge playing this game. In roughly, I think, a month, we've done what guys took years to
Yes,
achieve.
yes,
Years.
yes.
Basically, we did everything. We just sat down. I'd never played GTA, and I sat down with Ijaz, and we finally got together online. We never did it before. You've been saying for years, right? Come on, or not years, maybe 2 years now. Come and play with me online, right?
Maybe
Think,
a year, maybe a year. And the thing is, we've had such a fun time because we were having so many intellectual conversations.
hmm.
Hashtag gremlin chickens.
Yeah. There's so many unique moments. I wish we caught it on tape, man. I
Oh
should
my
I
goodness.
should buy one of those devices that we record the PS4. The whole thing.
Well, 90% of that stuff would not be broadcastable on television,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
just to get that out
And
there.
the problem is when you're playing a game, it's kind of like when you're driving a car, stuff just slips out that you don't want to say. you know.
There's one incident, very briefly. We are possibly at like the height of gameplay. We have the army, we have the police surrounding us, and it's an intense firefight. And I said to Abu Ayub, if I kill you, you die. And he literally stopped shooting. We're both about to die. He physically turns around in the game and loses it on me.
Because it didn't make sense. It did not make sense. It was like saying pineapples are sweet in the middle of a firefight. Now imagine we had cops. We had like 50 cops around us shooting, and we're running for our lives.
You're
And
outside an
Ijaz
army.
just states like the opposite, like the obvious thing, like, hey, the sky is blue. Like,
Why? Like, why? But
why? Exactly.
oh, yeah. But at that moment, we had like a couple $100,000 in game riding on the success of that gameplay that we were doing.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious when we look back at it, but it did teach me something, you know. I believe the Quran says, verily Allah is with the patient.
Yeah.
And I
And I'm
think
very patient with you, even though sometimes you drive me crazy in
um,
that game, man.
we've had a lot of fun. And if you guys want to join us, send us a message on YouTube. And who knows, when we're playing next, you can possibly join the craziness. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just madness. But let's crack on, brother.
All right. All right. So from the fun stuff to, let's say, pure comedy, getting out of the gaming world, and let's get to the apologetics gaming world.
Tough
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, tough stuff. But it's kind of like sad plus hilarious. It's like watching, how would we describe this?
I would call it schadenfreude, your secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah.
You see someone do something stupid and you feel, oh, that's cringeworthy, man. Really bad, really bad. And I think that's what we've seen with the Islamicize Me series, videos. What do we call it? I'll just call it series. And
I would call it a depressing descent into the deepest,
madness.
darkest parts of the internet, of the right wing, alt-right insanity, stupidity. That's not.
The thing is, I honestly believe that but when you're a creative person, you express your inner self. So artists are really renowned for showing their feelings and emotions in the art that they produce. And I think it really tells us something about the mind, the psyche of David Wood, to see
Yeah.
what he's capable of producing. And let me just say this: a Muslim would not dare produce what he produced about Islam, right?
Mm.
We would not do such things about the Bible. No,
Okay,
just
wait,
let's
just real
catch up.
quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
let's
the
catch up.
people, for the viewers that don't know what we're talking about now, we're talking about the series that David Wood and his buddy, his two buddies, Vocab Malone and John, what's his name?
McCray, I think
Yeah,
so.
McCray Cray. He's Cray Cray a little bit, but
Well,
so yeah, so they produced a series. So the general theme of the series is that they're going to pretend to be Muslims, and then for 30 days, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then they're going to use that to actually basically reuse David Wood's
old
age-old
material.
tired arguments against Islam, right?
Yeah. And what it really was that they didn't. Believe me, if I'm just correct me if I'm wrong here. I think like David Wood said in a live stream, it cost them between 20 and 30 grand or something like that to produce. Let me tell
Wow.
you, they did not.
No.
Yeah, they got donations to do that. Donations to do that. And let me tell you, if I got 20 or 30 grand, I was gonna buy books, resources, and develop, education wise. But to make videos of mockery, that's one a really bad misuse of donations, mind you. Secondly, I have to say that I'm very concerned about the state of Christian apologetics, because normally apologetics really is to defend your faith. His channel is called Act 17 Apologetics, I think, right?
Mm.
Or 19. I have no idea at this point. But here's the problem with it. And I believe James White mentioned this as well. Either you're an apologist all of the time or none of the time. And
Mm.
what I've come to realize is Christians like David do not like speaking about Christianity. So their material is not pro Christianity, it's really anti Islam.
Yeah.
Because, and let me just say it this way, it's difficult to defend Christianity intellectually. That's what I believe. That's why I'm a Muslim. But you also have to understand, because they're in such a vulnerable situation, they can't defend the faith, they just go on the attack. And I believe even David himself said, the videos he produced is not to target the educated Muslim or the Muslim with even a little bit of knowledge about Islam. It's to target the uneducated cultural Muslims. I believe he even specified the Pakistani Muslims. I
Mm.
detect a little bit of racism there, but I'll let that pass. But the point is, he's clearly stated what his intentions are. I'm
Well,
not
I
doing
think,
a
okay, so what was Nabil? Probably his only convert that he had, or the only successful person that he had. And I don't even think he employed these tactics against Nabil, right? He
he
had a
did.
different,
He said that he brought up mockery points, and he tried to exaggerate things from the hadith. And you have to remember as well, Nabil was a Qadiani, so he has slightly different, well, not slightly, a lot of different beliefs than nominal Muslims had. But he would bring up strange situations and mock Islam, and that I think defeated the confidence of Nabil. But
yeah,
David will probably get messages saying, "Hey, my family converted or a friend converted," and I don't doubt that. We get messages like that
yeah,
literally all of the time, and we don't boast about it, right? I mean,
yeah.
between Abu Ayyub and I, let me tell you guys, we get messages every single day from people all over the world thanking us for helping them, and we also get threats as well. And David celebrates these threats
Yeah,
as a
he relishes in it, and then
yeah,
he uses, then it throws him as a victim, and then he
yeah,
uses that to further his
sympathy,
justification.
yeah, sympathy, and to justify his gross behavior. But
Yeah.
we get death threats literally all of the time, and I mean, people who have wanted to physically assault us, that kind of thing. But
Mm.
guess what? We have not reacted in the way that David has. Why is that? And that is because I believe we have a certain level of adab, decorum as Muslims,
Yeah.
that we will never cross, regardless of what the Christian extremist side does.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to mention that this shows a distinction in our faith. We are held back. Even the Quran says, do not insult the gods of others, right? Do not. It's a clear command in the Quran. And even the Prophet, peace be upon him, in a hadith a narration, he says to us, do not get angry. Do not
Mm.
get angry. Do not get angry. So the point of that is you repeat something 3 times, repetition for emphasis. This
Yeah.
brings us back to a point that we had
Yeah.
yesterday.
No, that's different, bro. You can't have that with modern
But literature.
literature, bro.
See,
You can't compare the both. But I don't want to get in that argument again. But okay.
Let me just get it done for the audience. I told Abu Ayyub yesterday that there was something called repetition for emphasis. So you can repeat a phrase or a word in succession a couple of times, and he doubted it existed. And as we were having this podcast,
Hold on. Let them know exactly what you said and how stupid it sounded. Do you remember, or you don't remember?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
You said the package, because they have these packages, right, that you have to pick up. And he said the package is in the top of the mountain. So I'm thinking if he just said top once, and this is how stupid sometimes when you're gaming with somebody, you start after a couple hours, you start nitpicking everything. So I'm like, you could have just said top, and I would have understood once, and I would have understood what you said.
Yeah, but you repeat something for emphasis, like you said. That's a really fast car, right? And let's not get sidetracked. The point is, I have a hadith to support my point, and I think no proof by contradiction and all of that. I think it's a success, alhamdulillah. So let's move on.
No, but the Prophet ﷺ is saying a whole sentence multiple times so that the people get it, not one singular word that is an adjective.
Okay, let's agree that I'm right and move on. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, inshallah. All right, so David Wood's target audience. Now, as we know, he's not targeting people like us, people in Hyde Park, the brothers, any type of intellectual Muslim that's actually researched his faith.
Not even intellectual, anybody capable of basic reasoning.
Yeah.
You have to remember, he even says this himself in one of the YouTube streams that he did, was that he has to exaggerate and use hyperbole to get the point across.
Yeah.
If that is the case, if we were to exaggerate things in the Old Testament, for example, even the New Testament, it would be shameful. It would be an abuse of the New Testament, an abuse of the Old Testament. The point is, let me just state this clearly. If the only way you can convey a point is through mockery, exaggeration, hyperbole, then I think you're failing somewhere with the intention that you have and the goal that you're trying to achieve. Because if you're trying to convince somebody of something, I don't think mockery works. No, David says he's got many messages of support, that kind of thing. But let me tell you, he also acknowledges that it's mostly for ignorant Muslims. And let me tell you what happens. So he pushes out videos like those. He'll get views primarily from Christians, and he might get some views from Muslims. And let me tell you, the Muslim reaction to those videos is not, oh my God, maybe I should convert to Christianity, because there's nothing positive presented about Christianity in those videos. It's more like, wow, these Christian guys clearly don't understand Islam.
Yeah, exactly. So David Woods, his and what he has done, like you just mentioned, is there are some Christians like James White who actually he doesn't agree with David Wood's methodology for that exact point, which is, number one, it's not going to be that successful. Number two, the people that you are throwing this meat to are hate-filled, people in the church. Yeah, Christians in the church that are not, David Wood does get paid a lot in Patreon, but I'm pretty sure if you were to look at those people's,
mostly atheists and fringe Christians, and I think that's the point you're trying to convey. It's not the main body of Christianity that supports him. And I apologize for cutting you off, but I just wanted to say that James White had a lot to say about this, and I think like they traded, not insults, but they traded criticism of each other back and forth. And I think I don't know if you want to recap James's point of view, if you want me to do it.
Yeah, you can do it, but I just wanted to just discuss basically where's David Wood's position when it comes to Christianity, and who is he employing these methodologies for? Number one, as we know, just to recap, we know that the Muslim community, the people that he's trying to catch, is the very, very ignorant Muslim, and then he's using shock and awe and extreme. We could even say it's lying. It's not satire or it's not hyperbole. It's blatant lying and misrepresentation of the text.
Dissimulation, really.
Yeah. So anybody can do that. Anybody, and this was the problem that James White had with David Wood's methodology. Number one, anybody can take the Old Testament and then present it in a shock and awe way.
No, but that's what the atheists do, and Christians get upset and say, "Well, you can't mock my faith in that way. There are some things in life that should just be kept sacred, and we don't need to go to such extreme positions."
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that David Wood is one of those people that would get offended if someone mocked Jesus, right? I'm pretty sure he's one of those people. But please continue.
Yeah. So, and he does debate atheists as well. He's done on a number of occasions, right? So he knows this, right?
Well, yeah, but he I think, again, I don't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm asking you the question. You know, like
at the end of the day, I don't think David is concerned about what atheists think about Christianity. It's more that I fully believe he gets support from the secular community to produce his videos mocking Islam, because there's a thrive in Islamophobia.
Didn't he have one debate with an atheist though?
I really can't remember. I don't watch the guy's debates. He's not that good. Listen, I've watched his debates with Dr. Shabir Ali, and let me tell you, I saw nothing of substance in either of those debates, and I was pretty disappointed on David's side of things. What we really need are people who are willing to engage with us faithfully from an intellectual standpoint, not just the mere reading of scripture and expecting us to take the Bible as a source of authority. I did want to mention a point which might be somewhat controversial, but I honestly do not see any difference between David Wood and ISIS. Now that's going to raise some eyebrows. You know, I'm picturing David's eyebrow, like the one eyebrow thing that he does when he looks at the camera. He shall copy the rock. Let me tell you what. Let me just break this down really quickly. ISIS's tactic is to use the most fringe ahadith to promote extremism to the point that Muslims in the West become isolated and, are emotionally hurt and want to strike out. And according to David, as he preached in his debates with Dr. Ali, ISIS represents true Islam. So that's 2 points. That's 1 point that David and ISIS agrees on. That ISIS's version of Islam is the true Islam. So that's David's agreement and ISIS's agreement. And let me tell you, you don't want to agree with ISIS on that. Secondly, the other point is David encourages those Muslims. He tells them, he's openly told them in the debate, if you want to practice the Islam of Muhammad, behave like ISIS. To me, that's preaching the exact same message that ISIS does. And now he's saying he's targeting the weak Muslims in Pakistan, etc., the ignorant Muslims. That is exactly the kind of people that extremists like ISIS target, the uneducated Muslims. Right? So I see no difference between David Wood and ISIS. And again, these propaganda videos Islamicize me. What are they meant to do? They're meant to hurt, they're meant to shock, they're meant to mock. And that's what ISIS does with their videos as well. So at the end of the day, if he wants to employ the tactics of extremists and terrorists, then that speaks more to his lack of morals than anything else. And as a Muslim, I'm not angry at David Wood. I actually feel, sorry for him. Because in the same way I feel sorry for people who join ISIS, they're so misled, they're so blinded by hate that they end up doing something just woeful and unfortunate. And I think people like this really need counseling. They need care. They need to be in an asylum where these ideologies can be hammered out of them.
Yeah. I would agree to mostly what you said. I would agree to. But I would say, I would add to that as well, is that David Wood's methodology of, number one, overtly exaggerating. Now, he said when he was replying to James White's criticism that he was doing this because he believes that Islam is spreading and that their primal goal is jihad. So he's stepping into this conversation with the idea that there is this type of global threat towards him in Christianity. And when you do that, when you have this apocalyptic view of the world and your opponent, your theological opponent. Now, we're not physically opponents. We've lived with Christians peacefully side by side for centuries. Most of the time of our existence with Christianity was in peace. Now, I know a lot of people, they focus on the Crusades and what happened during those years, but majority of the time of the relationship between Islam and Christianity was peaceful. And there's prime examples in history where Muslims and Christians can coexist peacefully. Now, currently though, ISIS themselves, how do they get recruits? They have a magazine. It's called Dabik. What is Dabik? It's a place where one of the last battles in the Ahadith are going to take. Yeah, it's an apocalyptic view. And if you go and you look at what Christians do, how do they exploit people? When you look at cults in Christianity,
The world is ending soon, so you have to do
exactly.
something now.
Exactly. And what happens is when you have that feeling as if the world's going to crumble down around you, you're willing to do whatever it takes. Your morality has now been diminished
The
because
ends justify the means.
Exactly. You start using terms in utilitarianism and these types of things. So the tactic that he's doing, the whole central theme of his tactic, what he said himself. Now, the Islamicize me, the argument and the satire against Islam isn't necessarily one of those things. It plays a role in the part of this apocalyptic view. And how does that do it? It dehumanizes Muslims. As we stated before, David Wood, most of his Patreon, if not all of it, is coming from who? It's coming from extremist Christians and extremists, secularists. So, and these people are Islamophobes. And if you hear them talk about Islam, a lot of the times, it's like it's genocidal speech about Muslims.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but there's a point that needs to be made here. Most of David's supporters don't care about Christianity. If they cared about Christianity, most of his content would be educating us about Christianity. And we just don't see that. I would say something like 3/4 or 90%. I'm really bad at math. Just work with me here. That 90% of his of what he puts out.
3/4 is 75%.
Close enough. Listen, I never said I was a mathematician. Right? This is what happens on GTA Online as well.
When you spend most of your time on GTA instead of learning
the real world,
basics of mathematics. Okay,
go ahead. Yeah, but the point is, just like the Trinity, the maths does not add up here as well.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
That just occurred to me. So you guys can hashtag Gremlin Chickens. Just work with it. The point being, most of his people don't care about Christianity. And if they did, then he would be motivated to do more content about Christianity. And like I said, this is basically here. David Wood is cornered. Christianity is cornered. And I believe he's escalating in his hatred against Muslims. So year by year, it's escalating. Where does this end up? Who does he become? Because are you aware of Anders Breivik? I may have butchered that name.
Yeah, the Dutch politician.
No. This is the guy that killed 80
killed the 70 people. Yeah.
Close enough. Like I said, I was bad at math. But the point being that I've read some of that guy's manifesto, right? He published it online. It's widely available. And I read some of it. And let me be honest with you. Most of the themes that he rants on about are almost exactly replicated in David's concept of Islam and his worldview about Islam. And to me, that is extremely worrying. I don't want to tread too much on these points, but that's what I wanted to say on David Wood for now.
I just conclude on this part, and then we'll move on to the next subject. I feel that David Wood, he chose this niche part of apologetics where it's attacking Islam only. And that might be why there's no real teaching of Christianity. He's not giving lectures. He doesn't have PowerPoints and all these things. And there's still a couple of people that are hateful individuals that are enjoying this. But I think that David Wood spent so many years trying to attack Islam, and he spent all this time learning and these stupid arguments that he had, and he presented it. And it's almost like he feels it's a waste of time. So he has to just keep rehashing it. Because just imagine if you spent that many years on some type of promoting some type of ideology and then come to find out that now it's all backfiring on you. And what do I mean by that? Yeah, it's ineffective, number one. And number two, it's been backfiring on them because the atheist community in America is growing substantially while David Wood is sitting there trying to attack Islam. He's not even defending his own faith.
I think Muslims are something like 3% of the American population. So
and how much is atheism? They call it the nuns. The nuns are about 25%, I think now. And it went up from 15% in the last 15 years.
Well, here's the point. There's a difference between confessional Christianity and cultural Christianity.
Mm.
And most Christians in the US, I believe, fall under cultural Christianity. They're only Christians because of it's their culture, it's what they grew up in. It's not something that they've studied and accepted. You know, as we say in Islam, Iman has not entered the heart, right? It's
Yeah.
something professed on the tongue but not entered into the heart. And it's a case of his house is on fire, and he's just, throwing a bucket of water on the lawn,
Yeah.
on his neighbor's lawn. He's wetting his neighbor's house while his own house is on fire. He's ignoring the problem. And that's pretty much what I have
And
to
his
say about
followers, because there's a lot of there's a lot of racist tendencies within this community, and you can see it in the posts, you can see it in the comment section, and
Well,
they
there was an
want somebody
interesting,
to hate. If it's a
well,
foreigner, it's a
hold
foreign
on.
culture and ideology, they want somebody to hate.
There is an interesting development here, which is that one of his colleagues has apostated from Christianity, C.L. Edwards, right? So C.L. Edwards was allegedly a Muslim. Then he became Christian, and he appeared on the ABN for a number of years, on and off. He participated in many debates there, and today he is Muslim. And so the question is, where is David when his own colleagues are leaving Christianity? They're abandoning it, basically. And how are they abandoning it? David Wood is giving support to heretics, which brings us to our next.
Oh, yeah. The goods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That segue was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, good segue. You're getting better at this, man.
That's why we don't get paid.
Yeah. All right. So now we're moving into one of Christianity's beloved converts. Okay. What was his previous name in Islam?
That's a lofty title, beloved convert.
Beloved. They love him. They were throwing flowers in front of him as he skipped to the church.
Okay, so Abu Ismail, I think was his name previously, or Ismail Abu Adam. Right, Ismail Abu Adam. See, I got the name wrong. Like I said, guys, I can't do math and I can't do names. I can't do
his website or his channel it used to be Convert to Islam, and then now it's like Don't Convert to Islam or something like that, right?
So let me give a brief history on his name is Neil Littlejohn. I think he's changed it, or he's changed it back again.
Little John, where is that name from? Isn't there a character on Robin Hood, Little John?
Do I look old enough to know Robin Hood to you, Abu Ayyub?
You never watched the Disney cartoon Little John or the movie, man? The movie's good.
I watched the movie when I was a kid, but
with Russell Crowe. It wasn't that long ago. You weren't a kid back then.
It's like at least 40 years old. What the hell are you talking about?
40 years. The movie with Russell Crowe. They made a remake of Robin Hood. I think it was maybe
Russell Crowe. What are you talking about?
They had a Robin Hood movie, I think, maybe 10 years ago. Maybe 10, 2008-ish.
So
they remade.
You're going to watch Robin Hood with Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
I think you have issues that we'll have to explore in another podcast.
Robin Hood's a good story, man. Rob from the rich and steal.
Socialist.
And that fits in with Neil pretty well. Take from the rich and give to himself. Rob from the rich and give to the poor.
That's a good segue. I mean, you're improving as well.
Yeah,
but
man.
Let me give a brief history on Mr. Neil Littlejohn. So Mr. Neil Littlejohn, I had a lot of interaction with him on Twitter, and I accidentally caused an issue that ballooned overnight, and we'll get to the conclusion. I caused two issues that ballooned out of control. But let's get to the very start. Neil Littlejohn, brought up in a somewhat Christian household. He did attend the Greek Orthodox Church at one point, or tried to. I'm not sure if he tried to attend the Roman Catholic Church. I can't really recall, but he eventually converted to Islam, and he became, in his own words, extremist Salafi Muslim.
Yeah.
And over a number of years, he transitioned to the diametric opposite, an extreme Sufi Muslim. And I was there to witness the character change in him. He went from attacking Christians to attacking Salafi Muslims, and it was a weird, overnight change, basically. And it seems like he got burnt out attacking some section of the Muslim community, because at that point, he was ejected from a masjid where he lived, in the area that he lived. And they kicked him out. They didn't like him there. He was causing problems in the community, and they wanted to serve him a legal trespassing notice. He asked for donations. He asked for support. I
Yeah, all this
recall.
time he's doing it on. Sorry to cut you off. All this time he's doing this online, so he's loving the limelight. He did like
Loving.
he did a video where he's praying in front of the masjid of the
Yeah, I
mosque.
remember that on Facebook. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And he posted it on Facebook. Now, Neil thinks that we forgot this information, right?
yeah.
Very short memory. I had to remind him of most of these things, actually. And he eventually backed down on some of them.
Mm,
And the case is, um, because the community effectively rejected him and he didn't get the support he was wanting, he later became what is termed a Quran only Muslim.
mm,
And over, I think, 2 months, I had an ongoing, like, online discussion with him about his beliefs. And I eventually told him, Neil, the beliefs that you have now put you outside of the scope of Islam, right? You deny the Qira'at, you deny many of the Sahihain. So you're outside of the body of Muslims. And he just continued escalating until one day we had a conversation, and I believe he was trying to argue with me about Hafs on Asim, and it didn't really work out for him. And he said he was taking a break from Facebook. And when he popped up again, like 2 or 3 months later, he was quote unquote just sharing messianic Jewish videos on Facebook. And I didn't ask him the question, but people were asking him, Neil, what's going on? Why are you posting Israeli videos, Jewish videos? What's going on with you? And at one point he commented on Facebook, he is learning about, or either he's learning about or he's accepted Messianic Judaism.
okay.
Effectively a Christian, quote
Um,
unquote.
so let's just stop right there. Do we want to mention about his marriage, or do we want to just leave that on the side? Because that
Leave that on
actually
the side.
plays into what took place with
It
his.
does play into it, but I don't want to encourage anyone else going up to Neil and asking them about his marriage. But he was having marital issues with his father-in-law. There was even a
Mm,
radio interview about it. Really weird, right? Who goes to the radio to talk about it? In any case, there was even an article, I think, on like CTV or something. That's a Canadian TV news organization. And he ran into some problems with his father-in-law. And I'm not sure where the marriage ended up, but his life basically imploded because of familial marital issues, basically.
yeah,
And
so there could be some issues. A lot of the brothers have spoken about that there could be a lot of animosity and hatred that could have been, and psychological hatred towards Islam that could have surfaced from that
yeah,
relationship.
from the fallout of that relationship. And
But
yeah,
I think that just before we continue on, I'd just like to mention that I think the Muslims that are listening, when we're talking about how this character is, this person, this convert, I think we've all noticed or met that type of convert before, where the guy is everywhere. He's jumping from this group to that group to that group, that group every month, and
yeah,
you can see very very well that they're unstable, and also not just unstable in their viewpoints. There's nothing wrong with being honest in the deen, the religion, and then when you find something wrong, maybe you transfer over. But the problem is that there's some people that always, number one, they always want to be in the limelight, and number two, they always want to tear down other people and demand that they accept their opinion, even when it's possible he doesn't have enough knowledge at that time to know if he's wrong or right.
he
But
didn't
he's
have
going to
enough
demand,
knowledge.
and he's going to say it, and he's going to expose it to everybody in the open, right?
But that's another problem. See, uh, in the videos, he was making it out as if the community invented an issue against him. But let me
Mm,
tell you, if many communities have an issue with you, then at some point you have to ask yourself, am I the problem? Not
exactly.
is the community the problem? And a lot of people actually, not a lot of people, but as far as I'm aware, the masjid did receive several emails inquiring, hey, what's the issue here? Let's try to solve it amicably. I believe
Yeah,
it was resolved, but it's no longer an issue because Neil no longer is a Muslim,
yeah.
right? And so, yeah,
And this
well,
begs the question, okay, let's just say he did leave Islam. There's no doubt that the Muslim community, I mean, maybe 50%, let's just say it couldn't be 50% treated him wrong, or and then 50% treated him right. But let's just go with that statistic. 50% of the people open arms to you, accepts you in the community, treats you well. Maybe at the end in one mosque you were treated bad, But all those people that you've met throughout history, and then when you decide to leave Islam, now you're going to come in this very, very, we say, very mean and bitter way of attacking Islam. Does that
But
make sense? Or
but
does that reflect somebody that's very unstable?
see, I don't want to push the point that he's unstable, because a lot of people have different reasons for the way that they react to things. But in Neil's case, his jumping does indicate, like jumping from one group to the other in such radical extremist changes. You would have to assume something is not right there. It's a bit like you see a guy going from Mormonism to Jehovah's Witness to Calvinist to Armenian. At one point, you're going to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You, first of all, you don't spend enough time in any of these groups to learn about their beliefs entirely. Secondly, you become polemical. So,
Yeah, exactly. You're screaming from the rooftops about it when you know you don't have enough knowledge about that group yet.
But that's the point. So as a Salafi Muslim, you criticize Christianity. As a extremist Sufi Muslim, you criticize Salafi Muslim. I remember this guy posting video after video after video, on Facebook, criticizing Salafi Muslims, Wahhabi this and Wahhabi that. And when he became Quran only, it became about everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so then he converts to Messianic Christianity, right? Or it appears that he is, right?
Either he adopted some of Messianic Judaism beliefs, or he promoted some of it, at least on Facebook.
Okay, for the audience, maybe some of the Muslims, they might not know that are listening, they might not understand what Messianic Christianity is. So this is Trinitarian Christianity.
Messianic Judaism. So
Messianic Judaism. It's basically Christianity, right?
Yeah.
It's just
you just have more of a focus on the Torah. So you focus on prophecies, you may practice the Sabbath, things like that. You might you might try to appear as if you're practicing the law in some way. Something like that. Right.
But in theology, they're Trinitarians.
Yeah, you're basically Trinitarian Christian.
Okay,
basically.
and that Jesus died for your sins, and and he's okay.
Yep.
So then he goes, all right, let's explain to the audience now what happened. Now it's David Wood, Sam Shamoun, it's all a big party now. Everybody's happy that Neil Littlejohn now has converted. Now he becomes a poster child for the Islamophobic community. So what's taking place now? Just paint it for us what was happening.
Okay, so he did a couple of videos against Islam. It was shared by Founder, which is Jay Smith's quote-unquote ministry. It was David Wood even uploaded a video of Neil on his own channel. So he gave Neil a large subscriber count. And I even believe Sam Shamoun may have shared some of his videos on Facebook. And they've given him a platform, they've given him attention, they've given him views. But there was something more to it. Something more to it. So our friend Neil, he started a Patreon, right? A Patreon. It didn't do that well. And then he started a GoFundMe. And that's when I got into the picture. And something was suspicious to me. Because Neil, I think he legally changed his name 1 or 2 times. He can correct me on that, I'm not sure. I have the papers where he did do it once. So I know for certain he did it once.
Yeah.
So Neil is asking for 40,000 Canadian dollars from the wider Christian community so he could preach Christianity to Muslims. That was the purpose of his GoFundMe campaign. Okay. And so I asked one simple question, which was, Neil, what qualifications do you have to get into university? Secondly, what kind of Christian university are you going to? Tell us what your beliefs are. And he slipped up.
He remained silent, huh? He purposely was remaining silent.
He did try to remain silent, but I was having like ongoing Twitter conversations with him. And I believe sometime in March he slipped up because I asked him if he could describe Jesus as a person. He's like, no, I don't use unbiblical terms. And that piqued my interest because there's only a couple sects of Christianity who are non-Trinitarians that reject the term person for the Trinitarian Godhead, right? So this is a classical Trinitarian belief. And wallahi, I told Neil at that moment, I said to him, you're practicing a different Christianity than your friends David and Sam. And I don't believe he replied to that comment. He said, I'm not falling for your trap. And the question I asked him was, how is asking you to use Trinitarian terms falling for a trap? And so my intention in March, I have this screenshot saved, by the way,
Good.
hoping to put that out at some point soon.
Because he's asking for money from Trinitarian Christians at this time.
Primarily Trinitarian Christians.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So the follow-up question from that was, well, you don't seem to have normal Trinitarian Christian beliefs. And so at that point, I'm saying to myself, this doesn't make sense here. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
And, by the will of Allah, things worked out because Neil exposed himself.
Okay, so let's stop right there now. So let's just recap what was taking place beforehand. Now, I don't know, in the beginning of this year, he started getting the Patreon and the GoFundMe, right? So there's months.
GoFundMe was later into the year. GoFundMe was after March, I think, like either during March or just after March. And the Patreon was sometime late last year, I believe.
And when did he first announce his conversion?
It could have been 2 years ago. My memory is bad, but I think like 2 years ago.
No, I think it was a year. I think it was a year. I think in September or October it was last year.
No, it was before that, I think.
Okay.
But let's just say.
All right. Nevertheless, now he's converted and he's doing anti-Islam and he's not asking for money yet. Or did he have a Patreon when he first started?
He didn't say what he converted to.
Yeah. So he's just an anti-Islam individual.
I'm no longer Muslim. That was his platform, basically.
Okay.
Right.
And then he connected with the community, the Christian community. He started asking for money, and then he asked to be able to go to a Christian university to study the religion and to bring Jesus to the Muslims. And he's asking Trinitarian Christians mostly for this money, right?
And he was hesitant in saying what his beliefs were. People were asking him, well, what kind of university? Do you have the credentials to go to university? And when these questions were asked, he never spoke on his theology or what sect of Christianity he belonged to. And he was being very coy. And I believe he was being intentionally coy because if he had said what his beliefs were, he would get zero support, which is eventually what happened.
So now the audience, everybody's on the edge of the seats. So there was a big revelation that just happened recently. Explain exactly what happened.
Well, Neil gets baptized only in the name of Jesus, not in the name of the Father and the Holy Spirit. So Neil is a oneness Pentecostal. He rejects the Trinity as Trinitarians believe it. So effectively, he's like what a Mormon is.
And so he comes out as a oneness Pentecostal now, just recently.
He doesn't say he's oneness Pentecostal. It takes time for people to figure it out. Because when the video comes out, immediately someone like Sam Shamoun is like, wait a second, something's not right here. And so Sam is asking him on Twitter, hey, Neil, what are you? Are you a oneness Pentecostal? And Neil denies being oneness. Actually, he denies, he first tells Sam, treat me like a brother, my brother in Christ. I'm a new brother in Christ. Don't treat me like that. And Sam says, wait, hold on a second. You're asking Christians for money. You're asking us Trinitarian Christians for money. Please clarify your beliefs. And he plays coy again. He says, I'm just a new believer, But you know what? Maybe you should debate this oneness Pentecostal guy if you think I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So he sells himself out. He gives up he gives up the thing. And now Sam is basically like, well, yeah, you're basically oneness Pentecostal. And there's a moment when he posts on Twitter that he's been attacked. He's been attacked by fellow brothers. He's been attacked by Satan in reference to Sam Shamoun, which, it's harsh language. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I mean, I like Sam as a person, individually, one-to-one, but as an apologist, he's pretty bad. The point being, Neil Littlejohn is referring to our friend Sam Shamoun as Satan. And, well, Sam does not use Twitter. So Sam is seeing the tweets, but he's communicating from Facebook through Twitter to Neil. And he asked a very interesting question. How can you be baptized into a church that's oneness Pentecostal, as well as asking me to debate a oneness Pentecostal apologist when you're saying, one, you don't share the beliefs, and two, you're just a new believer in the faith? That does not make sense. And eventually it comes out that he's losing money on his GoFundMe and Patreon because people have realized he's not a Trinitarian Christian. And now he's trying to backpedal and, he said, I'm just a beginner in the faith. The exact same thing he did when we called him out when he was Salafi, then extremist Sufi, and then Quran only. Every time he's called out, he just jumps. I don't know. It's called feigning ignorance, you know. Uh, There's a statement that the police tell you, that lawyers tell you as well, judges as well. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse to break the law.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
But in this case, he was intentionally being coy, and there's a term for this: lying by omission.
yeah,
Lying by omission. Now, I have nothing personal against Neil, but I am concerned that he's asking for money. Here's the
exactly.
thing. Here's the thing. Hold on. Let's forget that he's one that's Pentecostal. Let's forget that he deceived people. Let's put all that behind us for a moment here. Neil is saying, "Hey guys, not give me $400, not give me $10,000, give me $40,000. Okay, why? I want to go to a Christian university to learn more about Christianity. Okay, one, do you have the qualifications to attend any university? I can't tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, two, if you had to go to university, what would be the program you would be interested in? I can't tell you that. Okay. Thirdly, have you applied to any universities to become a prospective undergraduate?
Yeah.
I can't tell you that. So all of these important questions, you don't know what university, what program, you've never tried to apply, you've never mentioned your qualifications, you don't, here's the thing, you cannot say, give me $40,000 and I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do with it. I'm
Yeah,
going to go,
exactly.
it's a bit like me saying, hey guys, give me $40,000, I want to get a car. And then you ask me, well, do you have a driver's license? And my
Mm-hmm.
reply is, I can't tell you that.
Yeah, yeah.
It does not
I
make
mean,
sense.
for the listeners, I mean, it would be the equivalent because maybe oneness Pentecostal people don't think that that might be that distant from Trinitarianism. It is,
Oh
but
no, they
it would be the equivalent of somebody that could possibly be a Mormon. So for the Christian listeners, and this person is saying, I want to go and study the Bible in a Christian university. Well, which denomination are you going to, and which subject are you going to learn about? Because for all we know, you could be learning about Mormonism. So
exactly.
this is really problematic for them. And for him remaining vague on this, it's no problem if you had your own opinion, like Ijaz is saying now, and that's that. You're just making videos and you're talking. But when it comes to religion, first and foremost, other people that are going to repost you, they need to know what you are. So you have to explain what you are. That's the first thing.
Part of
And the
being a
second
Christian
thing is you're
apologist.
asking for money of the people to support you. And
Exactly.
Christians, they don't want they don't want to help somebody make a gay, wedding cake. And they don't want to help somebody that's a part of a different denomination of Christianity that they consider heretical as well. They will refuse to do it.
And that's why they were angry. They
Yeah.
felt as if they had been deceived. And I had to tell them, well, that's what you get for promoting a guy and never having inquired what his beliefs were. Here's the
Yeah.
thing, as Muslims, right? You don't even have to be a Muslim. Any person, if you're going to promote someone else, the first thing you ask is, well, what are you going to promote and why? Right?
Yeah.
You don't give someone a platform, you don't give them you don't open them up to an audience of donations, people who donate to you,
Yeah.
without first saying, well, let me find out what your platform is to begin with. So David Wood played himself, basically. So,
Yep.
so this goes back to the point with David Wood now, which is that he does not care about Christianity. Had he cared about Christianity, he would not promote Neil Littlejohn. So now here's the problem. You have David Wood supporting Neil by giving him subscribers and donors, and then you have Sam Shamoon criticizing Neil for being an apostate. Now,
Yeah.
Sam Shamoon believes Neil is an apostate. He has not entered Christianity. He's entered a heretical sect that is outside of the religion of
Yeah.
Christianity, right?
Well,
So
here's the
you have,
question, Ijaz.
yeah,
David Wood posted his video on his channel, right?
did he take it down?
Yep. Did he take it
No,
down?
no. As
And
far as I know, the answer is no.
this is something the listeners need to think about. If there is Christians listening, you got to think about that. And David Wood himself, right? He's not specific on what he believes, right?
Well, he is very specific. I actually have a couple of screenshots from about 2 or 3 years ago where he posted about theology on his blog Answering Muslims. And some Christians were asking him, well, David, what do you believe? And he actually banned them from the website. And I have the screenshots with me still. David is an agnostic when it comes to certain Christian beliefs, like soteriology, how are you saved? Theology, the nature of, when you go to Christology, the nature of Christ. All of these things. Then you have ontotheology, the nature of God. Does God know the foreknowledge of people? Does he predestine things?
Yeah.
David, for all of the education he has as a philosopher, for all the videos he does about Islam, he hates discussing these subjects, and he's agnostic on these core issues. So like I said, he does not care about
And I think he has
Christianity.
every denomination. I think he interviews a couple of varying denominations within theology, within
Well,
Christian
he
theology
likes he likes to
on his channel.
interview this guy, a French atheist that became Calvinist, like this neo-Calvinist.
Yeah.
But David does not share neo-Calvinist viewpoints. Neither does Sam Shamoun. So these guys are agnostic when it comes to
Yeah.
Islam.
So on the one hand, he has William Lane Craig, and then
No,
on the other hand, he has a Calvinist on his channel. And so it doesn't seem like he's taking this subject seriously.
he does not have a coherent Christian theology.
Yeah.
Christianity is just a platform for him to use to promote. David was not a Christian apologist. He's an entertainer, and a bad one at that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what Neil tried to get a part of. I know Neil is getting this backlash, and he's saying that demons and Satans are after him. But at the end of the day, if you hold to your beliefs, you can't say at 1 minute, I'm not sure about my beliefs, and the next minute, oh, I absolutely am this, and then the next minute, well, I didn't know what the church I baptized myself in belonged to. It's like going to a masjid and telling them, hey guys, can you record me with you guys taking the shahada? But I know absolutely nothing about your beliefs.
Yeah. And that's the difference, I think, between like these guys that are trying to, these internet sensations that are trying to milk the audience for money, and actually real scholars of religion, like people like James White, that actually are dedicated to their viewpoints and argue not just against Islam, but they argue even within their denominations in Christianity as well, and specifically are clear and coherent on what they believe in, right?
Well, one of the things that James pointed out was David does not belong to a church. And normally you're supposed to have a church elder oversee you.
Yeah.
So we don't have an ecclesiastical system in Islam. But typically when we do things in apologetics, we have shuyukh that we consult, like, Sheikh, would this be permissible? Is this within the bounds of Islam? Can I do this? We run it through a filter, basically, so we can know that we stay within the limits that Islam has allowed us. David does not have that control over him. Whatever goes, goes. The ends justify the means, It's like, it's as if he's been listening to Slipknot, Psychotic satanic band, basically. And that song, Psychosocial.
It looks like he's wearing a mask as well.
He does wear a mask, and that mask is not only physical, it's emotional. He's hiding his true inner beliefs. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, David is a victim of himself, basically. And I think he's misusing Christianity. If I were a Christian and I saw someone behaving in this way, I would be seriously concerned, which is what James White was. James White was honestly shocked and awed. He was disturbed by what David had done. And like I said, if you're not clear on your beliefs, if you're ambiguous on what you believe, then how can you claim to be a Christian in the first place? And same thing with Neil. If he can't be clear on what he believes, why are you trying to be an apologist for something you're not even sure about? That's the problem. And then asking for money on top of it. And you put those two things together, you end up in a really bad place. I know that we have more to discuss, Abu Ayub, but I think it's been like an hour. Yeah. So I think we're going to have to save the rest, the juicy stuff, for the next time. What do you think?
All right. That sounds good. No problem.
Inshallah. Now, guys, I don't mean to cut the talk short, but we've talked a lot today, and we don't want to delay the program. You know what I mean? So, inshallah, for the next episode, we're going to get into some more technical, juicy stuff that should interest you on the preservation of the New Testament. Brother Abu Ayub, do you have any further comments?
No, just like and share the video. The channel that we have on YouTube now, of course, we have it. It's pretty humble channel as of right now, but by you sharing these videos, it'll actually get us more views and help these videos get across to more of a broader audience. But of course, at the end of the day, we focus on quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
And alhamdulillah, even if it's 10 brothers that are more enlightened by this, that's sufficient, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is just help continue the dialogue and inform the brothers and sisters in
And
Islam and
sisters.
Christianity. Yes, and the Me Too movement. For
Hashtag gremlin chickens.
yeah,
Don't forget hashtag gremlin chickens.
yeah, hashtag Gremlin Chickens, hashtag GTA Dawa. All right, so Jazakallah khair, Ijaz, and yeah, tune
Next
in
time,
next week.
inshallah.
Yeah.
All right,
Assalamu
guys. Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
Wa
Bye bye.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.